It was a sharp, crisp morning in the small rural town where James lived, the kind where the air seemed to slice through clothing and shock the lungs. Frost painted the grass with a shimmering silver, and the sun hung low, indifferent to the chill it was supposed to ease. James's breath formed clouds as he walked his dog, Charlie, down the winding path that led to the secluded pond at the edge of town. The leash twitched in his hand every time Charlie caught a scent or saw a bird take flight, and it was these small, predictable moments that anchored James in reality. He felt each twitch like a lifeline, tugging him away from the fog of his own thoughts. Ever since he had returned from a stint in rehab for alcohol addiction, mingled with the shadows of bipolar disorder, James was grappling with the weight of judgment from those who didn't understand the battles that raged within him. He stood at the pond's edge, watching the surface gleam like cut glass, as Charlie ambled by the water, nosing through the frostbitten reeds. He remembered how people in town looked at him, with eyes that whispered of pity and fear, a look James could never meet head-on. A conversation overheard at the corner store echoed in his mind, hushed voices branding him with cruel words that stung sharper than any cold. But James carried a fragile hope, like a seed in winter, that the thaw of acceptance would come. He had found solace in an online community, a band of souls who bore similar scars and understood the fight. They were the voice when his own got lost in the whirlwind of stigma. With them, just a message away, James felt the glimmers of understanding and acceptance that sometimes eluded him in the flesh and blood world around him. As he watched Charlie bound through the scrub, James made a silent promise to advocate for empathy, to reach out to others drowning in the same loneliness that had nearly swallowed him whole. He'd found strategies and resources, like anonymous forums and virtual counseling, that buffered the sting of isolation. It wasn't a panacea, but each positive interaction, each moment of shared experience, was a brick in the foundation of a new beginning. Charlie returned with a stick, dropping it at James's feet, a simple offer of engagement that pulled James back from his reverie. He tossed the stick, watched Charlie chase after it with unbridled joy, untroubled by the complexities of human prejudices. In that clear-eyed joy, James found a model for living, an unspoken encouragement to cherish the fundamental, the immediate. Then, as the stick splashed into the pond and Charlie leapt after it, James considered how he might translate that simplicity into his own journey. How could he, too, embrace the moments with such abandon, yet square them with the gulf of misunderstanding that lay between him and his townsfolk? Could it be that in the act of living, simply openly, unashamedly, one could begin to bridge that gulf? Charlie shook off the frigid water droplets, catching the light in a fleeting, prismatic dance. And standing there, soaked in the splendor of unspoken lessons and unplanned tomorrows, James pondered the power of shared humanity. What if the key to change lay not in grand gestures, but in the accumulation of small understanding, like the thousands of droplets shaken from a dog's coat, each one catching the light in its own time? Emerging from the shadows of solitude. In the hidden recesses of our minds, where fear and shame intertwine like inextricably linked vines, the weight of living with mental illness and addiction becomes a solitary confinement of the soul. Those embarking on this arduous journey often grapple with an unspoken narrative, a narrative that society's stigma has insidiously scripted, convincing them that they must bear their burdens in isolation. The truth we will uncover in this chapter is akin to finding a lantern in the dark. It illuminates the path to a community where judgment is replaced with understanding, compassion, and a shared resilience. The scars of stigma not only mark the psyche but also erect walls of separation. Recognizing this pivotal impact on individuals plagued by isolation and judgment is our first call to action. We will dissect the nuanced way stigma operates, insinuating itself into the crevices of self-worth, and magnifying the echo of loneliness. The bridge to a supportive community is not a hollow promise. It stands resilient, ready to be crossed by those who dare to believe in a tomorrow where they are alone no more. Through the tapestry of shared human experiences, we understand the core importance of togetherness in fostering acceptance. Building a supportive community is akin to constructing a lighthouse on a rocky shore, a beacon for ships lost in the stormy seas of discrimination and misunderstanding. We endeavor to build this lighthouse, stone by stone, in the hearts of those who yearn for a place where their stories are met with nods of empathy rather than the doors of rejection. And that dream is possible for anyone who puts the effort in to achieve it. The alchemy of healing. As we chart this new course, discoverable resources and strategies are the compasses that will help navigate the tumultuous waters of stigma and isolation. The unveiling of these tools is our commitment to replacing the chains of solitude with the wings of freedom. Transformative in their nature, these strategies promise more than mere existence. They are the keys to a fulfilling life, even amidst the unpredictable waves of mental illness and addiction. In laying this foundational chapter, we also start to weave the rich threads that will form the tapestry of our entire book. The chapters ahead will unravel the complex interplays of genetic, environmental, and psychological strands that knit together the fabric of mental illness and addiction. This understanding paves the way for compassion, dissipating the mists of misconception that often shroud the true nature of these conditions. Building bridges, not walls. We will explore the fortress of social connections. In Chapter 3, connection is key, understanding why forging alliances with fellow travelers can turn the tide in the battle against judgment and loneliness. And as we push forward, our shared journey will explore the rudimentary yet deep-seated reality that healing extends beyond therapy and medication. Holistic approaches and personal growth strike a chord in the symphony of recovery we'll conduct in Chapter 4. Crafting your crown of coping strategies. Uniting the chapters is the refrain of developing and honing a versatile set of coping strategies, a robust toolbox that we will meticulously build in Chapter 5. With each implement we place within, the edifice of a purposeful and healthy life becomes ever more a reality. Embracing the struggle against stigma requires an indomitable spirit, a theme of perseverance over stigma that we will delve into, acknowledging that the power to overcome stems from within as much as it does from the community we cultivate. The descriptive framework. Illuminating the intersections. Delineating the journey of mental illness and addiction requires more than a mere map. It calls for a descriptive framework that serves as both a guide and a companion. Our framework begins with an intimate portrayal of mental illness categories, mood and anxiety disorders, psychotic episodes, and complex personality disorders. Each comes with its own set of challenges, symptoms, and sometimes societal labels. These disorders often conspire with addiction, creating a labyrinth that seems impossible to navigate. The framework introduces us to the tragic waltz of self-medication, a dance of short-term relief leading to long-lasting complications. Understanding the composition of this waltz allows us to hear the silent cries for help and identify the steps we can take to interrupt the cycle. The framework does not stop at description. It propels us toward action by illustrating the multi-dimensional impact of mental illness and addiction on relationships, career, and holistic well-being. Recognizing these impacts is essential to ignite the motivation required for seeking a supportive community and appropriate treatment. As this interaction of components resonates, the framework reveals a dynamic landscape where equilibrium states are as ever-changing as the individuals it represents. Stability is not a destination, but a process, influenced by feedback loops of recovery and relapses, victories, and setbacks. The descriptive framework stands not only as a theoretical construct, but as a practical template for navigating the complexities of mental illness and addiction. It is a testament to the resilience that emerges when understanding replaces ignorance and empowerment overcomes submission to circumstance. We commence this odyssey with the assurance that a rewarding life is not just a remote dream, it is a distinct possibility. Opening the doors of perception and stepping out of the shadows, we embark on this transformative journey together with a promise of enlightenment, comprehension, and an unwavering belief in the power of solidarity to conquer stigma and isolation. Welcome to this shared voyage, a journey of shedding the cloak of aloneness and embracing the collective embrace of understanding and dignity. Recognizing the shadow of stigma. Stigma is an invisible but heavy weight that often accompanies mental illness and addiction. It's a social scarlet letter that can lead to people being ostracized, judged, and isolated. Like a persistent whisper, stigma tells a story that isn't true, painting individuals with mental health challenges as unpredictable or dangerous. This misconception fueled by stigma can cause others to pull away just when support is most needed. Imagine stigma as a vast, impenetrable fog that surrounds a person, separating them from the rest of the world. The fog of stigma clouds judgment and obscures the truth of one's character. It instills in those suffering a sense of unworthiness and solitude. Despite this, the sunrise of awareness and understanding can burn away the mist, revealing the individual, not the illness, to the acceptance of others. To gauge the real impact, studies have shown that individuals with mental health issues frequently report experiencing discrimination in various aspects of their lives, including employment and housing. This discrimination often compounds their feelings of isolation, as it limits their opportunities for social interaction and economic stability, further ensnaring them in a cycle of loneliness and despair. It is critical to confront and challenge the misinformation that leads to stigma. Public education campaigns, personal testimonies, and the normalization of mental health conversations can all serve to clear the fog. Increasing awareness about the realities of mental illness and addiction can foster empathy, undercutting the baseless judgments that perpetuate isolation. Understanding and dismantling stigma is essential to allow individuals to step out of isolation and into a circle of support. Understanding your mental health journey. Mental illness and addiction are not solitary experiences. They're chapters in a person's life that can be read aloud when one is surrounded by those who care. Just as a tree cannot stand alone without the forest to protect it from the storm, individuals battling these challenges require a supportive community to thrive. Having a supportive community can light the way through the darkness of mental illness and addiction. It offers a mirror reflecting not the distorted image cast by stigma, but the true self that deserves compassion and understanding. A robust support network can reinforce the notion that one's worth is not diminished by their struggles. Navigating to solid ground. The first step in taking stock of your symptoms is akin to taking inventory of what's in the pantry before cooking a meal. It clarifies what you have to work with. Individuals are encouraged to patiently and objectively note down the physical, emotional, and behavioral changes they experience, acknowledging each without judgment. Gathering information then becomes the recipe book you consult. In seeking to understand one's mental health, knowledge is empowering. By diving into reading materials, engaging in dialogues with professionals, and attending support groups, individuals equip themselves with tools and ingredients to create a better mental health menu. When you reach self-assessment, it's like checking the temperature in the oven. This introspective process involves looking inward to monitor one's mental health temperature, to see if it's just right or needs adjustment. Reflective tools and professional guidance are the kitchen thermometers here, guiding toward an accurate reading. Identifying support systems is establishing your cooking team. Just as a chef relies on a sous chef for success, individuals are encouraged to enlist the people and organizations who can help them navigate the complexities of mental health. A therapy group, a trusted friend, a family member, or a medical professional. Setting realistic goals marks plotting points on one's journey, much like a cook setting timers for various stages of a meal preparation. These goals are appetizers, leading to the main course of recovery and wellness. They may be as simple as daily walks or as significant as professional treatment, each one crafted to lead the individual step by step toward a healthier mind and lifestyle. By embracing these steps, an individual plants their feet firmly on the path to well-being and stitches together a quilt of community support, thread by thread. Could it be that the community you build becomes the cornerstone of not just survival, but a life filled with joy and purpose? Cultivating hope and empowerment. For those living with mental illness and addiction, the landscape of life can often seem barren, a vast desert devoid of water and life. Yet with the right resources and strategies, it becomes possible to cultivate a garden in this desert, transforming desolation into a place of growth and vitality. It's about tapping into the underground springs of support that lie beneath the surface, waiting to be accessed. Identifying and utilizing resources is akin to planting seeds in fertile soil. Mental health services, therapy, and peer support groups are all nutrient-rich resources that can help one's well-being blossom. Instead of facing challenges alone, these tools offer camaraderie and shared understanding that can uplift the spirit. Strategies for coping with stigma and isolation often involve self-advocacy, learning to speak up and articulate one's needs. Self-advocacy is the water that nourishes your garden, allowing you to flourish despite the scorching heat of stigma. Equipping oneself with the language of rights and self-respect enables individuals to assert their dignity and counteract the corrosive effects of judgment and exclusion. The step-by-step process outlined in Understanding Your Mental Health Journey is a detailed map guiding the way through the arid wilderness. By diligently following this path, an individual creates a personal oasis, a refuge from the harsh outer elements of misunderstanding and prejudice. Each step forward is a victory, a testament to resilience and determination. Cultivating your personal oasis, the path to flourishing. Following the steps in Understanding Your Mental Health Journey diligently allows one to carve out a personal space of wellness amidst the harsh landscape of stigma and isolation. Each step requires action and reflection, a commitment to nurturing the gardens of our minds. Just like a gardener tends to their plots, we must regularly take stock, educate ourselves, assess our state, find our support system, and set goals to ensure our mental well-being blossoms. With faith in the process and patience for growth, individuals can reach a state of flourishing, a lush garden thriving within, regardless of external conditions. Success is measured not by the absence of challenges, but by the ability to live with them in strength and harmony. By engaging in these steps purposefully, we intertwine the threads of recognition, community, and strategy to weave a resilient tapestry of mental health and addiction recovery. Embracing support and overcoming stigma. Living with mental illness and addiction can be a lonely road, filled with twists and turns that often lead us to feelings of isolation and judgment. The weight of stigma can press down heavily on our shoulders, making it difficult to see a way out. But here's the thing, you are not alone. In fact, there is a whole world of support waiting for you, arms open wide, ready to embrace you and guide you through the toughest of times. The power of supportive community. Imagine a place where you can be yourself, where you are understood, where judgment has no place. That is the beauty of a supportive community. Surround yourself with people who lift you up, who listen without judgment, who hold your hand when you need it most. Together, we are stronger. Creating connections with others who share similar experiences can be a game changer in your journey towards healing and acceptance. Resources for a fulfilling life. Now let's talk about the tools and strategies that can help you navigate the choppy waters of stigma and isolation. Whether it's therapy, support groups, self-care practices, or simply reaching out to a trusted friend, there are countless resources at your disposal. You have the power to take control of your life and shape it into one that is not defined by your challenges, but by your resilience and strength. As we close this chapter, remember this: you deserve to live a fulfilling life. By recognizing the impact of stigma, embracing the support around you, and utilizing resources to cope and thrive, you are taking the first steps towards a brighter future. So take a deep breath, hold your head high, and know that the journey ahead is not one you have to walk alone. In this chapter, we will explore the intricate and multifaceted nature of mental illness and addiction. Our learning objectives aim to deepen our understanding of these conditions by shedding light on the different factors that contribute to their development. Firstly, we will delve into the genetic component of mental illness and addiction. Research has shown that certain genetic variations can increase the likelihood of developing these conditions. However, it is important to note that genetics alone do not determine one's susceptibility, and other factors such as environment and lifestyle also play a significant role. Next, we will examine the impact of environmental factors on mental health and addiction. Traumatic events, chronic stress, and exposure to substances can all contribute to the development of these conditions. Additionally, socioeconomic status, access to resources, and cultural influences can also play a role in shaping one's mental health. Finally, we will explore the psychological factors that contribute to mental illness and addiction. Our thoughts, emotions, and behaviors can all influence our susceptibility to these conditions. For example, individuals with certain personality traits, such as impulsivity or low self-esteem, may be more prone to developing addictive behaviors. By gaining a deeper understanding of the various factors at play, we can develop greater compassion for ourselves and others. It is important to recognize that mental illness and addiction are not simply a matter of personal choice. Rather, they are complex conditions influenced by a combination of genetic, environmental, and psychological factors. By challenging the misconception that these conditions are solely a result of personal choice, we can reduce the stigma and promote a more empathetic and understanding society. Mental illness and addiction are not simple matters of personal choice. Instead, they are complex conditions influenced by a combination of factors. These factors include genetics, environment, and psychology. However, it is important to note that these factors do not operate independently. In fact, they are interconnected and can interact with each other in dynamic ways. For example, while genetics may predispose someone to mental illness and addiction, it is often environmental factors and lifestyle choices that trigger the onset of these conditions. This highlights the importance of addressing these conditions from a holistic perspective, rather than viewing them as isolated issues. In addition to external factors, our own thoughts, emotions, and behaviors also play a crucial role in the development of mental illness and addiction. Our personality traits, such as impulsivity or low self-esteem, can make us more vulnerable to developing addictive behaviors. Furthermore, the way we perceive and respond to our experiences can also have a profound influence on our mental well-being. This highlights the significance of addressing both external and internal factors in the treatment and management of these conditions. By gaining a deeper understanding of the complex interplay between genetics, environment, and psychology, we can promote greater empathy and compassion for individuals struggling with mental illness and addiction. Let us challenge the misconception that mental illness and addiction are solely a result of personal choice. By doing so, we can reduce stigma and create a more supportive and understanding society. By doing so, we can reduce stigma and create a more supportive and understanding society. Recognizing the multifaceted nature of these conditions, we can work towards more effective and compassionate approaches to prevention, treatment, and recovery. Ultimately, by acknowledging the complexity of mental illness and addiction, we can foster a more inclusive and empathetic society for all. If you made it this far, thank you so much. These are just first 2 chapters of my book I'm writing. Let me know what you think by liking, sharing, commenting, and subscribing. It really helps the algorithm get my videos to the right people. Thank you so much for spending time with me. It really means a lot. Y'all have a great day, night, and remember to question your reality.